Our pre-sunrise entry into Yosemite was made in an effort to hopefully take a photo or two before we moved on to our hike. Unfortunately, we were not alone and found ourselves in a line of traffic as we moved up the mountain from Oakhurst, where we had stayed.
We knew through our research that it was possible to defeat Yosemite's reservation system with an early entry, but officers and park officials were heard suggesting this to nearly anyone who would listen, to which many clearly had done, as we found only a few parking spots left in an overflow lot, in spite of the fact we were still nearly an hour from the gates officially opening. We knew we'd encounter more people than we were used to, so we shrugged the parking off and focused on our hike to Vernal Falls along the Mist Trail. The trail is mostly paved until the mist and rushing waters of the falls can be heard and seen. Here it switches to large stones and steps that can be slick and off balance. This said, they are only a concern due to the distractions of the scenery everywhere you set your eyes.
Well, that was not dry.
No.
That was not dry.
No.
After we reached the fall's main observation point, we continued further up to the top where you could see the valley and the hikers making the trek behind us. Then, more climbing. This was to connect to the John Muir Trail on our way to Clark Point, where the view back to Nevada Falls is nothing short of stunning. From that point, our descent was quick along the gravelly and serpentined connector back to the Mist trailhead. So quickly, both of us found our feet slipping in the gravel several times. This hike was right at 5.6 miles for us and just under 1,700 feet of elevation gain. Well, that was an absolutely amazing hike. However, things changed as we headed back down the mountain, and towards the last third, really, we started seeing not only a solid stream of people, and I don't mean like just a person, I mean like back to back, people, sometimes 2 and 3 wide, group of people heading up to do that same trail. So I'm thankful that we started as early as we did. When we got back to the truck here for lunch, it is so chaotic with the number of cars and people. There's people with reservations for this park that have been stalking and trying to find a parking spot. And I do mean stalking. There are people running around trying to find the spotters and stalking for over 2 hours to find a parking spot. And I can't help but feel like something's wrong. I mean, it's a beautiful valley, and I know everyone wants to experience it, but
this is craziness.
This is craziness, and it really detracts from my willingness to even want to be here and experience it. Like, when I look around, I couldn't want to be outside more. And then when I look close and you see the sea of vehicles and everything going on, I couldn't want to get out of here more. Frankly, this feels a little bit more like an amusement park than a national park right now. I knew there'd be people, but
Oh, yes.
we're going to still try to pony up. We're too scared to move the truck.
Yes.
So what we're
gonna
going to do
use
is,
the free shuttles.
yeah, we're going to use the shuttle, and we're going to head over to the visitor center, take
Yes.
on another little hike or a little
Yes.
trail over there, and then we're going to try to buck up and be our best person with other
Yes.
people.
Yes.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
Let's try.
As much as we tried to focus on the beauty of the area, there simply were too many people for us to truly enjoy ourselves, let alone feel immersed in nature. According to the National Park Service's website, the National Park Service preserves unimpaired the natural and cultural resources and values of the national park system for the enjoyment, education, and inspiration of this and future generations. In our opinion, Yosemite Valley is an example of where they have strayed from this mission. In an effort to accommodate the masses, the valley's experience itself has been diminished. I can't imagine John Muir visiting the area today and not shedding a tear for what it has become.
All right, well, we thought we'd try something a little bit different today. Rather than going into the main Yosemite Canyon itself, we decided instead to go to Mariposa.
Yep.
Right?
Grove. Yep.
Mariposa Grove. So that's what we're doing now. Interesting thing, we're going to have 4 miles of hiking round trip just to get to Mariposa Grove,
Yes.
because the road that goes in there is only, you can only use it if you have a handicap placard or
Yes.
if you need assistance or something like that. So the parking lot from the hikes is a 2 mile round tripper. So 1.9 in, and then
1.9 back.
yeah, and then 1.9 back. So yeah. Anyway, still pretty dark in here, as you can see. Let's see what we get into.
This area seemed much less popular, at least until the shuttles began making rounds later in the morning. We only saw one other couple on our way to the trailhead, and once in the grove, we felt the level of people was more like we are used to in a national park. The result was a great time on this 7.9 mile hike.
Once complete, we decided to head out the south end of the park and transition over and back into the park at the Arch Rock entrance. What kind of driving you doing? You're not trying to get this high-class video over here. You can't be hitting bumps. I got... Crash truck. Oh, well, that's dirty, birdie. Nobody wants to see that. Nobody wants to see the trashy part of this, wherever we're at. This was a gem of a route that transitions slowly into the granite landscape as you meander along the Merced River. The entrance here marks your arrival with more splendor than we'd experienced on the prior south entrance on Highway 41. Slowing down a bit now that we were back in the park, we stopped at nearly every overlook and stood in awe. If this was your first look into the valleys, I can only imagine the excitement and anticipation building as distant views of El Capitan, Half Dome, and Bridalveil Falls come into focus. For us, it was time to find a campsite and settle for the evening.
While our second day was more enjoyable than our first, most of what we still wanted to do would be back in the valley, and we dreaded the thought of dealing with the crowds again. So we opted to shave a day off of our visit and make an exit out the recently opened Tioga Pass after revisiting a couple of overlooks for sunrise.
Look at that.
Beautiful.
Are you cold or something?
A little bit.
It's only like 30 degrees.
Just 30 degrees. That's all.
We made an attempt at Tioga Mine Road, but the gate was closed. Instead, we stopped at a few trailheads and pull-offs for short hikes that led to some amazing views.
Crab walk over the tree
Stop that. Don't make
because someone never learned how to jump a fence. Now feeling the end of our trip a bit earlier than we wanted, we took a longer pause at Tuolumne Meadows for a walk. Little did we know that we would spend even more time here than expected due to a couple of yellow-bellied marmots wrestling around without a care in the world to our presence. Well, as you just saw, we have passed through the Tioga Pass gate for Yosemite National Park. And that means?
It's a wrap on the Yosemite National Park.
That's right, our trip still isn't over. This was intended to be our campsite right here at Tioga Lake Campground, but it's still pretty early in the day. So I think we're gonna go ahead and move on to what was gonna be our sunrise destination. Maybe we hit it for sunset. To find out what that is, you're gonna have to check out our next video though. So we will see you then. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Hey, I know this video has already been a bit of a long one, but I wanted to explain why it was a week late. You see, while we were doing our editing for this video, fires kicked off in Mariposa Grove, which was a huge part of this video. And then they have now spread into the Sequoia National Forest, which was a part of our last two videos.
Yeah, and we want to make sure to thank all of the first responders who have been trying their best to save these trees in the parks for all the people, keeping them safe, and to save the trees for future visits for all of us.
Yeah, that's right. It's really important to remember that in our life timeline, this sucks, right? I mean, these trees, you're going to have fires run through there, and it's not ever going to look the same for us. However, you do have to remember that in the scale of time to the sequoias and some of these great trees, it's really just a little flick of time. And it's a critical part to their life cycle and what they need to be successful and great. So while it sucks for us, it's just a part of it. Anyway, please stay safe out there if you're out in that area. We'll see you in the next video.
Bye.